Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack. This is your latest Manchester United news, and we've got plenty to talk about, as we always do, as usual. And some interesting reports coming out about Manchester United today in all areas. We're going to talk a little bit about Jim Ratcliffe. As you can see, the title on YouTube is Massive Clear Out coming in the summer, as Jim Ratcliffe looks to overhaul the playing squad. So we'll talk a little bit about that. There's also some heavy hitters in terms of staff in the background that are unclear on their future as well. Darren Fletcher being one of them. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. I want to talk a little bit about Thomas Tuchel. Reports coming out today suggesting that he's actually eyeing up the Manchester United job, so we'll speak about that. We're also going to speak about Jim Ratcliffe's plans to, I suppose, either build a new stadium at Old Trafford or, redo the current stadium. And it looks set to be turned down by the UK government in terms of some funding. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well, and any transfer news that comes up in between. Get your comments in as always, guys. Please smash a like on the video if you haven't already done so. Let me just fix this camera real quick because it's a little bit, my OCD is annoying me. Let me go. There we go. Perfect. Now, but yeah, get your comments in as always, guys, and smash a like on the video, hit subscribe if you're new, all of that good stuff. Anybody watching on TikTok, guys, if you want to come over, all of the articles that we are talking about, I will have up on the screen. If you come over to YouTube, link is on my homepage. Head over to YouTube, hit subscribe, jump into the chat and let us know you've come across. But we'll jump straight into it, guys, as always, and we're going to start, obviously, with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the plans to, have a large-scale summer clear-out at Manchester United. Now, listen, we've been talking about this for a couple of years now. Ever since the days of, the end days of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the subsequent reign of Ralf Rangnick, we've been saying that a massive, massive clear-out is needed at Manchester United. And it remains to be the case. It really, really does. There's a lot of players that we could potentially move on. And a lot of players that we could probably get some half-decent money for as well, it has to be said. Let's go down through the report here and see. Manchester United have had a poor season thus far. Yeah, don't remind us of that, lads. The British petrochemicals giant will take a call on the features of several first-team stars, and this summer transfer window promises to be quite significant in the club's history. The defence and midfield are in need of urgent reinforcements, with the contracts of both Raphael Varane and Johnny Evans ending, while both Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof could be on their way out. In the middle of the pitch, both Casemiro and Christian Eriksen could be moving on, as they seem to have lost that yard of pace and struggled to adjust to the intensity. And it says up to 11 players, including Christian Eriksen, Raphael Varane, Casemiro, Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Victor Lindelof. Anthony Martial is out of contract in the summer, is set to leave on a free, while United will also invite offers for players already on loan, including Jadon Sancho, Donny van de Beek, Facundo Pellistri and Brandon Williams. I couldn't even believe Brandon Williams was actually still a Manchester United player, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, we can see it here, guys. Let me zoom in on it and we'll show you here. So up to 11 players, and you know what, I think rightly so. We'll go down through them and spend a little bit of time on each of them and see what you guys think about it. But I think he's pretty spot on with this report. Obviously Rob Dawson is reporting it in ESPN. I think he's spot on with the amount of maybe players that he mentioned. Will they all go? Probably not. It's a lot easier to get rid of players on paper than it is in real life. It's not Football Manager. But if we're looking at, the bulk of these players that we're talking about here, Christian Eriksen first and foremost. I love Christian Eriksen, I have to say. It's such a silky smooth player. Really, really, just all around quality player. However, we know that he has his limitations at the moment, and he will never get them back, which is pace, power and strength. He just doesn't have it. And I think it is time maybe to move him on. He's been a really, really good acquisition, you would have to say, for United on a free transfer. Was very instrumental in our success last season, it has to be said. Struck up a real good balance in midfield there with Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro alongside him also. But we're seeing the ever-evolving player that is Kobbie Mainoo. And I think you know, the fact that he's coming in is probably the final nail in the coffin for Christian Eriksen. So I think we'll probably move him on. Look, we'll get very, very small money for him, probably 5 to 10 million you would expect. But when you get him on a free, you know, I don't think that's you know, nothing to be sniffed at. Raphael Varane. Now, again, this kind of Raphael Varane is dividing the fan base. It has to be said. Now, not in a bad way. I don't think, and I think that, you know, Raphael Varane still has a lot to offer, I would say, and I think he does. And would I be disappointed if he leaves? No. Would I be disappointed if he stays? No, I wouldn't. Now, we do know that his contract is up in the summer. United supposedly only a few weeks back did want to renew his contract. However, they wanted to offer him a new one on lower terms because he's on too much money at the moment. United are not willing to extend his current deal, which is rightly so. He's on too much money. And, you know, obviously Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos coming in are going to be putting every single player and their salary under the fine-tooth comb, you know, under a microscope. And I think Raphael Varane is going to fall into that category. To be honest with you, I think Varane won't be a Manchester United player next season. If I'm, you know, if I was a betting man, which I am, but I don't know if I can put a bet on that with Paddy Power or whatever. But I think Raphael Varane will probably go in the summer. I really do. Now, it all depends on how much you can get for him. You know, there's talks of Varane. We'll get on to Casemiro now next, but there's talks of them two players specifically going to Saudi Arabia, where you'll probably get some half-decent money for them. Again, the more money we can get for these players, the better. When you're looking at Raphael Varane and Casemiro, they're obviously the older players that we're talking about here, alongside as well maybe Christian Eriksen, and Harry Maguire is not too far off them either. But their market value is never, ever going to be as high as it is now, you know, or in the summer. So I think maybe now is the time to sell them on. I really do. Let's see what people are saying here so far. Aaron, thanks for the 7 months, man. Really appreciate the support as always. Who have we got in? Chris is there. Michael is in. Danny is there as well. Aaron, Ben, Reese, good to see you guys. Danny says, it was absolutely brilliant news to hear that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has been fully confirmed. Looking forward to at everything he has done already in the short time at the club. Finally, good news for United. Reece says, yeah, but if Eric Ten Hag allowed the sale of McWhistle, I'd swear time has broken. Varane isn't bad, just not ideal to keep. Well, look, I would have no problem keeping Varane if it meant keeping him on as a squad player, as a rotation player. I think keeping Varane doesn't mean we shouldn't be going into the transfer market for another centre-back. I think we absolutely should. And I think if we do, I think that will probably, you would probably see the likes of Varane and Harry Maguire going, all right, look, it's probably time up here. Maybe it's time for us to move on. So I think that's probably the best thing there. Ben says Varane was a signing for now, not the future. Exactly. Danny says, I love to see Varane stay, but something tells me he's going to leave. Reece says, if we sell these players, I'm very excited at what Dan Ashworth can do with all the money in the summer. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the options are there. I mean, if we're looking at having a massive overhaul in this summer transfer window, then we do have to sell players. It's as simple as that, you know, with financial fair play. Now, Casemiro next. I mean, Casemiro is... I really like Casemiro, I have to say. I really do. And I think, you know, on the back of how well he played last year, I think for that reason alone, I would probably be happy to keep him for another 12 months, like I would Varane if he decided to stay. However, it would be, as we said before, with Varane, it would be a squad player. He would have to be a squad player. I still think we should go into the transfer market and buy a CDM. I think it's imperative that United do that. Is it going to be top priority on the summer transfer list? Probably not. I mean, you would probably look at centre-back first and maybe a right winger or a centre forward, and then if you do have some options, then you can look at bringing somebody in there. I mean, I think it's probably the area that United could get away with the most next season if we didn't buy anyone, with the likes of Casemiro there. So I think for that reason alone, But again, if he leaves, I wouldn't be massively disappointed as long as we replace him. Ricey is in. He says, "Yeah, we'll be freeing up well in excess of 1 million per week in wages." Absolutely, absolutely, and that's massive as well when it comes to financial fair play. It really, really is, and United do have to get smart about this. Now, Harry Maguire, obviously, Harry Maguire was on the chopping block last summer, and he's probably going to be up for sale again, I would say, if an offer comes in. Now, look, I do have to give credit to Harry Maguire. He's after turning around, I won't say fully turning around his career, because I don't think he has the quality regardless, but he has been putting in some good performances for United this season when he's been called upon. Is he the solution going forward? No, he's not. Again, Harry Maguire would fall into the bracket of, he's probably within that age bracket now where we could still get some half decent money for him, whether that be maybe 30, 40 million. I think, you're probably not going to get that even in 18 months time, when the transfer window of 2025 comes around. And especially if we are going to be going out and signing centre-backs this summer that are coming in, to hit the ground running and play and start for Manchester United, and Harry Maguire doesn't play next season, then all that's going to do is hurt his valuation, and we're not going to get as much money the following summer. So a big decision has to be made for Maguire. I think it's time for him to move on. I really do. And he's one of them players that we could get some half decent money in for, and and move him on and reinvest that money. Now, Scott McTominay. Again, I think people are starting to, and we've discussed Scott McTominay after nearly every game in the in the match reaction videos with all the guys about Scott McTominay. Is it time to move him on? He's after scoring a lot of goals for us this season. He's a clutch player, and he's an impact sub. Again, I think Scott McTominay this summer is never going to be as highly valued ever, on the back of what he's done this season. I think it's ample time to it's absolute perfect timing to sell Scott McTominay. The fact that he's doing so well for United this season, again, probably another £40 million player that you could get 40 million in for. Now, if you're talking, Casemiro going to Saudi for 50 million, Varane 50 million, then you're talking McTominay, Maguire for 40 million each. All of a sudden, you have 180 million in sales. Now, again, it mightn't be that high. It might be closer to maybe 150 million between them four players. But all of a sudden, you're building a real transfer kitty that you can go out and reinvest into the squad and get some decent players in. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is one that I would be disappointed if he left. I love Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think he's a fantastic one-on-one defender. I love his, the simplicity of his game. He does have his limitations, of course, going forward. I think he's after improving on that an awful lot since Erik ten Hag came in. But I think he probably, he is probably a player that, if he does go, it won't be a priority to change the right back area. I think with Delort playing so well and Wan-Bissaka as a backup, again, it all comes down to Wan-Bissaka and whether he's happy to actually continue the role that he's playing in. But again, another player that we could get some decent money for. You could get maybe 30 million. I think it would be fantastic. And Lindelof, I wouldn't like Lindelof to leave. And it's not down to sheer quality more than anything. It's down to the fact that he's just a good squad player. He's, a player that comes off the bench, plays maybe 20 games a season, whether it be from the bench or starting positions, and he never complains. Just puts his head down. He does have his limitations, of course he does, but you're not going to have a world-class centre-back, sitting on the bench for 30 games a season. It's just not going to happen. So for that reason, I would be happy to keep Lindelof, I would have to say. Let's see what people are saying here. Aaron says, I would keep Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Danny says, Casemiro's legs have gone. He's well past his best and we should move him on. Chris says, we can't have a squad player making Varane's wages. I agree. Well, that's why we're talking about, offering a new, his contract is up in the summer. So he will either move on a free transfer or United will offer him a new deal on lower terms. And I think the former is probably going to be the most likely there. Chris also says, we need to bring in youth. We aspire to play Champions League and so forth. We need players that can play multiple games a week. Absolutely, I agree. You have to find that balance, though, between youth and experience. We've got youth in our squad at the moment with the likes of Rasmus Højlund, Kobe Mainoo, Alejandro Garnacho. And yeah, I mean, I'm all for that. You do have to sprinkle that bit of experience in as well. Danny says, I love Casemiro. He's a good player, but his legs are gone. He's past his best. We should move him on and get in good money for him. He also says, Harry Maguire, not good enough. He's so highly overrated and we should move him on. He should be gone last year to West Ham. His greed is the fact we don't. Michael says, should Manchester United sell Luke Shaw? Now, again, this is a hot topic because the morning news show that I done this morning, I done it live for a change. We were speaking about Luke Shaw and a lot of discussion yesterday evening and today about Luke Shaw and whether Manchester United should actually cash in on him and sell him. Again, I'd like to get your opinions on it. What we'll do is I'll put up a poll in the live chat and you can vote on it. Should United sell Shaw? Let me know. Me personally, I mean, when it comes to Luke Shaw, I mean, he has had his injuries down through the years, hasn't he? It all stems back to the leg break under Louis van Gaal. Horrific leg break, and, you know, done well to actually come back at all. When you look at something like that and you're seeing him picking up the likes of, you know, calf injuries, hamstring injuries now. I don't know if they're in the same leg that he broke his leg, but a lot of the time that is the case. Pat says, fan of the channel, but lose the hat. Look at that, Pat. You do not want to be looking like that. So that's why the hat is on. So yeah, there we go. I was power hosing all day and I haven't had a chance to get a shower yet. So that's why the hat is on. But yeah, look, I mean, Luke Shaw, I would keep Luke Shaw for another 12 months minimum. I think if we can, you know, if we can get him over this injury, it looks like he's going to miss the majority of the season. Now, reports today were suggesting he could potentially be back, you know, for the last couple of games of the season. Not worth a fuck to United, really, unless we're really going for top four and it goes down to the wire. He's looking to get back for the Euros more than anything else, and I think United will be probably a little bit disappointed in that. You know, obviously, Luke Shaw is a vital player for us and very, very important in terms of the balance of the team. Malacia is still injured. Reports coming out today suggesting we will get a significant update from Erik ten Hag on Malacia's recovery in the press conference tomorrow. So we'll wait and hear about that. But the left back area is a concern. Should United be going into the transfer market looking for a left back? I think it's well on the cards. I really do. I mentioned it about 4 or 5 weeks ago that I think in the next maybe 2 seasons, United need to be looking at bringing in an established left full that can really push Luke Shaw for that position. Because if we look at the players that have come in, they've never really threatened Luke Shaw's position in that team. You know, he's been, you know, you've had Tellez come in, for example, was never really going to take Shaw's position. You've got Malacia now, really good backup. Is he going to be, you know, stepping forward and really pushing Luke Shaw for that number 1 spot? Probably not, you would have to say. So, I mean, Luke Shaw, coming back from this injury is going to tell an awful lot. But I do think United are probably going to start looking at potential new left backs, not to get rid of Shaw, but to just challenge him, you know, more than anything else. And I think that's vitally important. I really do. Danny says, I like Scott McTominay, but he's only good enough as a squad player. So if an offer comes in for him, that's good enough, we should take it. Now, what we do also have to take into consideration here as well, guys, is that selling all of these players means you have to replace them. You know, so if you sell Eriksen, Varane, Casemiro, Maguire, McTominay, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, and then you're talking about Donny going, Pellistri going, Sancho going, probably Mason Greenwood, that's 11 players. You're going to have to bring in at minimum 7. You know, you really are. And can we do that in one transfer window? Probably not. So the likelihood of all of these players leaving is going to be very slim, you would have to say. But one that, you know, could... I mean, I would be looking at selling the ones that you can actually get money in for more than anything else. You know, decent money in and then reinvest that into the squad. Let's see. Maguire, 40 million, says Chris. Try 25 max. Maybe so, maybe so. Sell McMuffin for profit. Danny says, I love Aaron Wan-Bissaka. We should keep him. Reece says, I mean, McTominay can score, but I would much rather sell him, get the money, and invest in a squad where we can win without these last-minute winners and win 50 to 70 minutes. Danny says, Lindelof, a good squad player. We should keep him. I love Luke Shaw, but he is injury prone now. We need a left back that can stay fit. Chris says, I would not sell him. We have other bigger needs that's going after a left back. Try to make another year with him. Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. I 100% agree with you there. We should have kept Reguilon for the whole year. Terrible decision letting him go back. Well, that's the risk you take, really, isn't it? You know, when you've got you send a player back, and then I think as soon as he was gone, Malacia's rehabilitation hit a bit of a stumbling block, and then Luke Shaw gets injured as well. I think it's bad luck more than anything else. Dara says, Shaw's a great player, but his injuries just keep mounting up. Time to sell and get a left back in. Ericsson can go. He should never have been brought in. I disagree with you on that one. I think Ericsson was a fantastic buy, given obviously we got him for free, and the restrictions we had in terms of financial fair play. I think he was a very smart acquisition, and we're after getting the max out of him. We'll have got 2 seasons out of him, one really good one and one then maybe as a squad player for free. I think it's good business, and I don't say good business about Man United that often. I'm gonna have a little swig of lemon here. Oh, look at that! It's just. Right, let's move it on, guys. And there is one other player that I want to bring in separately to this equation about being sold. And you might know who he is. Sorry, let me just turn on this light. You might know who he is in relation to the player I'm being talking about. And it's this guy. It's Anthony. Manchester United are prepared to accept half of what they paid for Anthony, if you're bloody lucky, I would say. So, despite remaining unbeaten in the new year, Manchester United's performances have done little to cheer up manager Erik ten Hag. Blah blah blah. Right, let's get past all of this nonsense. One player who perfectly encapsulates the manager's flawed vision is. That's a bit harsh. Flawed vision. I don't like this report anymore. Is Anthony, with the club paying a whopping 95 million for his services last season. Granted, the club made the mistake of overpaying, but Ten Hag deserves criticism for choosing to sign the Brazilian when the likes of Mohamed Kudus was also at Ajax. This season, the 23-year-old has emerged only with a solitary goal and an assist, both of which came against Newport County in the FA Cup. Off-field issues as well, so on and so forth. I don't know how to pronounce this, but they have claimed that Manchester United will try and sell the Brazilian international for half the price they paid, for around €50 million. Now, United eager to sell. According to this, the Brazilian player has been one of the great recent disappointments at Manchester United, which we remember paid at the time no more, no less than €95 million. So yeah, look, United open to supposedly getting rid of Anthony in the summer, and I think I agree with this 100%. I think Anthony should be sold in the summer. 50 million on the other hand, that's where now €50 million. I mean, what are we talking there? Probably 35 to 40 million pounds. I think we'd be lucky to get it. I honestly do think we would be lucky to get it for Anthony. He's been such a disappointment. He's been up there with one of the worst signings we've had in recent history. And you do have to, lay some of the blame at Erik ten Hag. Absolutely, you do. I still think that the price tag doesn't help. And it doesn't help the player, and it puts added pressure. I mean, if Anthony came in for 35 million, which was the price we were originally quoted with at the start of the summer transfer window back in 2023, then I think he would have probably had a better Manchester United career, you would say. There would have been less pressure on him. And that doesn't fall at Erik ten Hag's feet. That falls at the board and whoever negotiated the deal. But I do think he should be sold. I think he is completely out of his depth. There's no end product to him. it's the same kind of trick all the time, in on his left foot, doesn't know whether he's shooting or crossing the ball. And completely out of his depth. If we got 30 million for Anthony, 35 million, I would sell him, and reinvest the money. I think Jim Ratcliffe as well and Ineos are quite steadfast in their vision of what they want for Manchester United. And the likes of these players, obviously, Ineos have not made a signing yet, so none of the players at Manchester United have been under the Ineos umbrella. But I think Anthony would be one that United would be willing to get rid of, and I think they should be willing to get rid of him. He's just not up to standards. He really, really isn't. Let's see what people think about it. Let's see. Oliver is in. He says, hi, I really don't know what Jim Ratcliffe is on about, because he wants to make a move to a new stadium. This is biased from an owner and a Man U fan, which makes it worse. I don't really get your point there, Oliver, to be honest with you. I don't see the big deal with moving to a new stadium next door. But yeah, maybe let us know what you mean. Reese says, I'd accept 30 million for him. Somebody just take him away, please. Daryl says, I'll drive him to the airport. He is so bad, we should get 25 mil, says Oliver. Danny says, Anthony is highly overrated and not good enough. The Premier League is too tough for him. Plus, in my opinion, he's the worst signing in the club's history. I wouldn't go that far, but Paul says, definitely sell Anthony. Chris says, we are stuck with him. Let's see, and always wanted kudos over him as well. So there we go. I mean, look, I would get rid of Anthony, I have to say. I think Anthony is out of his depth, and a player that we should be cashing in on now before his valuation gets any worse, because I don't see him turning around his Manchester United career, to be quite honest with you. I want to move it on as well, guys, and talk a little bit about the reshuffle that Jim Ratcliffe is talking about in terms of the playing staff. There's also a lot of people behind the scenes that are unsure about their future at Manchester United, with the Ineos, I suppose, revolution happening right before their eyes, and no one else than Darren Fletcher, who's among senior figures that face uncertain futures at Manchester United. His days at Manchester United could be numbered as Jim Ratcliffe prepares to make more changes to the club's structure after becoming co-owner. The former United midfielder currently operates as technical director, but with it is understood that he is not assured of staying at Old Trafford under the new regime. One appointment we can expect to happen is Dan Ashworth, who is one of football's most respected sporting directors. Yeah, we know all about that. Darren Fletcher and Matt Hargreaves could be among the departures at United as part of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's planned structural changes, as per the Manchester Evening News. Now, look, if we're talking about, Jim Ratcliffe and the Ineos group coming in, and one of the phrases that we've been using an awful lot over the past few months, and ever since Jim Ratcliffe was announced, was we need to get best in class. That's what we need to do. We need to get best in class in each area. Is Darren Fletcher best in class when it comes to a technical director? No, he's not. He's part of the old regime, and I think he probably should and probably will be moved on. If he's not moved on, then obviously Jim Ratcliffe sees something in him. Or if that's down to Omar Barada, or if it falls under the Dan Ashworth appointment, I don't know what way it works, or who hires and fires Darren Fletcher. But yeah, I think if we're talking about best in class in each area, then I think Darren Fletcher as a technical director is probably not good enough, you would have to say. And again, look, long may it continue. I'm not going to have any sentimentality here when it comes to any decision that Sir Jim Ratcliffe made, and I don't think any other Manchester United fan should. If Jim Ratcliffe and Dan Ashworth and Omar Barada and Eric Ten Hag all come together and say, we're selling Bruno Fernandes, or we're selling, Lisandro Martinez because it's what's right for the club. While I might not agree with it, I go, okay, let's do it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it. Let's get going, because they've got ideas. They've got a direction in which they want to bring the club, and they're paid to make these tough decisions. So let them do it. Let them do it. But we've got to be patient as well. Like we said, looking at the Jim Ratcliffe interviews yesterday, patience is going to be very important. It's not going to be an overnight success thing at Manchester United. It's going to be 2-3 seasons minimum before we're challenging for league titles. That doesn't even mean we're going to win a league title in 2 or 3 years. It just means we're up there and challenging, and maybe doing what Arsenal are doing at the moment. Not probably ever going to win it, but are up there challenging. So yeah, patience is key here. It really, really is. And I think the more patience the Manchester United fan base have, the better off we will be, in my opinion. Speaking of better off, let's talk a little bit about Erik ten Hag. And is he going to be, better off under Jim Ratcliffe? Is he going to be, a manager that's given time to flourish under the new structure? That obviously remains to be seen. However, there is a certain man in Germany that's coveting Erik ten Hag's current position, and that man is Thomas Tuchel, who supposedly is interested in the Manchester United job. Now, as we heard over the past maybe 24 to 48 hours, Thomas Tuchel and Bayern Munich will part ways at the end of the season. They've mutually agreed to terminate the contract. Obviously, Thomas Tuchel is struggling to get to the top of the Bundesliga at the moment, with Leverkusen and Xavi Alonso absolutely, ripping it up. So this guy wants a return to the Premier League, and he wants the Manchester United job. Florian Plettenberg reported Thomas Tuchel will be interested in coaching Manchester United in the future. The current Bayern Munich boss is keen on a move back to the Premier League, and the United role certainly appeals to him. As per the report, the former Champions League winner with Chelsea doesn't see his mission in the Premier League complete just yet. Tuchel would also be interested in the Barcelona job, which will become available once Xavi leaves at the end of the season. However, the German is not on the list of potential candidates just yet. Manchester United boss Erik ten Hag is currently experiencing a good run in the Premier League. The Red Devils are currently on a 4-game winning streak in the league and sit 5 points outside the Champions League places. From the position United are now in, it would seem unlikely that ten Hag would be sacked at the end of the campaign. However, should they not get at least Europa League football, that may change. So look, a lot depends on how Manchester United get on between now and the end of the season. And I've said this before. I think Thomas Tuchel is a very good manager. I do like him, I have to say, and I think he would be a really good fit for Manchester United. However, I want Erik ten Hag more than I want Thomas Tuchel. I want Erik ten Hag to be successful, and I think he can be. Again, I go back to, Erik ten Hag working now over the coming 12 to 18 months, you would hope, working under a much improved Manchester United in terms of the structure behind the scenes, in terms of the footballing directors, new owners, CEOs, so on and so forth. And I think if ten Hag is given the time, I think he'll be successful. I really do. If Jim Ratcliffe decided to pull the trigger on Erik ten Hag and get rid of him at the end of the season, I would be disappointed and sad that Erik ten Hag didn't keep his job. But if we appointed Thomas Tuchel, I would be happy with it. I really would. And yeah, I mean, it's one that I don't think is going to happen. I think Erik ten Hag, especially if he continues the good run of form that we're on at the moment, and gets us into maybe hopefully top 4. That would be absolutely brilliant given where we were before Christmas. Getting into the top 4 at the end of this season would be absolutely fantastic. But if he gets us into Europe in any way, whatever about the Europa Conference League, if he gets us into the Europa League, I think his job will be safe throughout the summer and into next season. But again, there is, there's a long way to go before we can start looking at that. Let's see what people are saying here. Let's see, where are we? There we go. Danny says, it was music to all United fans' ears to hear Sir Jim Ratcliffe saying he wants to knock City and Liverpool off their perch. Amazing news, absolutely. George says, isn't Tuchel the biggest bluffer in the game? How he keeps getting these jobs and being linked to big jobs is mind-baffling. Well, I mean, he won the Champions League with Chelsea, with a pretty average Chelsea side. I think he's chosen his jobs wrong. Maybe not Bayern Munich. And look, I mean, he still could win the league with Bayern Munich. I think he should have never gone to PSG. I think PSG was we've seen PSG being the poison chalice that it is. He was probably the closest manager to winning the Champions League with PSG. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against it. That's all I'm saying. I can't see Sir Jim and Ineos changing the manager unless they have no choice. It's not a main priority at the moment. Chris says, no way on Tuchel. His recruitment is terrible. Well, he won't have to worry about recruitment anymore. That's the problem. Or that's the thing. It's going to be Dan Ashworth. It's going to be, Omar Barada. It's going to be Dave Brailsford, and maybe with a little bit of input from the manager then as well. It looks like that's the way it's going to be. Say McTominay, I dare you, says Brian. There we go. Would you take Elise and Man United, says Oliver? I certainly would. I think he's a very, very good player. But so did Di Matteo win the Champions League with Chelsea. Is he a good manager? I mean, Di Matteo didn't manage PSG. He didn't manage Bayern Munich. He didn't manage Borussia Dortmund. So I think the comparisons are unfair, I would have to say. Look, Jared, we clearly disagree on it, but that's okay. I mean, I'm sure there are certain managers that maybe you might like that I would say, I don't know, but look, I mean, opinions are opinions and everyone's entitled to them. I think there would be worse managers to get than Thomas Tuchel if Eric Ten Hag was to leave, I really do. I want to talk a little bit as well, guys, about Jim Ratcliffe finally before we finish up, and in relation to the redevelopment of Old Trafford or building a new stadium. And again, I want to get your thoughts in the comment section here, and we'll do a little poll here. Let's see, Old Trafford rebuild or refurbish. Let's see. So rebuild obviously is a new stadium, and refurbish is upgrade the current stadium. So let me know what you think there. What would you do? Would you rebuild Old Trafford as a new stadium, or would you refurbish the current stadium that is there? Let me know. Get your votes in on the poll there that we've put up into the chat. But yeah, supposedly Jim Ratcliffe wants. Obviously, we heard a couple of weeks ago. The Wembley of the North is what they were saying, that they want a big venue like Wembley in the north of England, and obviously there was a lot of government funding for the likes of Wembley and so on and so forth. And Jim Ratcliffe was, exploring the options of maybe getting some state-backed money in relation to building a new Old Trafford, and it could be used for concerts and, whatever else you would use it, and the whole area in general. Now, reports are coming out only in the past couple of hours that governments are set to reject Sir Jim Ratcliffe's approach over public funds to replace Old Trafford. Now, this is in relation to building a new stadium more than anything else. And looking at the interviews that he done yesterday, Jim Ratcliffe, it looks like he is leaning towards wanting to build a brand new stadium. And I think the reasons for that is down to obviously having the railway line on one side of Old Trafford, and then you've got the canal on the other side. So it does limit what you can do. And look, I mean, I love Old Trafford, don't get me wrong, and there's so much history there, but we're not moving to the other side of Manchester. We're literally, the new stand behind one of the goals will be touching the back of the Stretford end stand, basically. We're just moving the pitch up one. So you would still be on the Old Trafford site. You would obviously be able to potentially downgrade Old Trafford then and turn it into, maybe a training complex, or even the women's team. It's a disgrace that the women's and the youths don't have their own pitch to play on as well. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting, and obviously this is coming out from Matt Lawton in the Times, and it does seem to have some validity to it. I mean, I think a new stadium is the way to go. I really do. I think if you could build a brand new state-of-the-art stadium, they're saying it would cost a couple of billion to do, which is obviously, huge money. The one concern I would have, and this question hasn't been answered yet, is that now that we're talking about, potentially, obviously the government are not going to help, where's the money going to come from? And I think the main question here, and one that needs to be answered as quickly as possible, if a new stadium or a refurbishment of Old Trafford is to go ahead, that it's not money, borrowed money, that's going to be put on the club. I think that's vitally important, because we obviously, that just, Glazernomics is all that is, loaning money and then lumping the debt onto the club. I don't think Jim Ratcliffe will do that. I think if he can't get outside investment for a new stadium, then I think he will refurbish the current stadium that's there. And I think that's probably going to be what will happen. But we will have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see. Let's see what you guys think about it. Yeah, I mean, it's fairly 50-50 there. I mean, 58% of people are saying build a new stadium, and 42% of people are saying refurbish Old Trafford as it is at the moment, which is, we'll leave that poll open for another couple of minutes if people want to get their votes in. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see what people think. Let's see what you're saying in the comments here. Danny says, Sir Jim Ratcliffe in his interview yesterday said he would rather get a new stadium, that the Champions League final and other finals can be played. At least he has such great ideas. Gerard says, as we're a massive club, we should have the best of the best. But it would be so sad to see us leave Old Trafford. But we all know, hand on heart, that Old Trafford isn't fit for purpose. Yeah, I agree. Gerard says, in my opinion, I think we should rebuild Old Trafford. Too many great moments and historic moments, and players who have sadly passed away are in that stadium. Yes, I understand that point of view as well. Ben says, I think refurbished, because we need to keep the history in this one stadium. And Gerard also then says, apparently there's no atmosphere in those new modern stadiums, though Old Trafford is special and it has unbelievable atmosphere. Well, I would probably disagree with that. I mean, you look at Spurs' new stadium, the atmosphere is unbelievable in it. You look at one of the stands behind the goal, it's like Borussia Dortmund. It's just one tier all the way up. And I think atmosphere is created by good football more than anything else. And I think new modern stadiums are designed around creating atmosphere, with obviously the aerodynamics of it and the acoustics and all. It's all part of designing new stadiums that, it enhances the experience. Oliver says, I really don't think about the new stadium. It needs a new roof. That's all, and a new makeover. It needs more than a new roof, I'm afraid. Tommy says, United are gone to shite, mate. Your channel is a lot better than them. All right, Tommy, fair enough. I don't know if that's a compliment or a slag, but anyway. Guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. As well, before you go, actually, I do want to let everybody know the match build-up videos that we're doing before every game. Last couple of games, obviously, I haven't been getting enough videos in to actually create it and put it together. So if anybody wants to get involved in the match build-up video, all you have to do is take out your phone, record yourself for 60 seconds in terms of your match preview for the game coming up against Fulham. Maybe give me your starting 11, your score predictions, what you want to see, so on and so forth. Just record yourself for 60 to 90 seconds, send it in to me. What I do is I put them all together. It's a chance for you guys to actually get on the screen and give back and get involved in the channel as well, and for me, give me a chance to give back to you, and for you to get involved. So if you do want to get involved in the match build-up video, send me your 60 to 90 second match preview clips. Let me know your score predictions, your starting 11s. Send it to my email, if at all possible. United Community Channel, so the name of the channel, at outlook.com. United Community Channel at outlook.com. Get them to me tonight or tomorrow night at the very latest. You could literally log off now from this live, take out your phone, record yourself for 60 seconds and send them to me. I'll put them all together and we'll put them up as our match build-up video then an hour or two before the game on Saturday. So if that's something you're interested, anybody on TikTok as well, make sure you're doing it. Anybody on YouTube, please do it as well. And we'll get the match build-up videos going as well. But thanks for watching, guys. Please smash a like on the video if you haven't done so already. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'll be back with the morning news tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Actually, we were live at 9 o'clock this morning, so we might do 9 or 10 o'clock as well. Turn on notifications as well. Ring the bell. Click the bell notification. Hit all, so as soon as we go live, you'll get notified. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.